Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and ahead of the final day of online matches of this entire season. Plenty of drama to dive into. Many pros not happy at all about the fact that these online matches have higher weightings and more importance than even LAN does this season, and also with HyDra getting on well ahead of the series later today. Is it possible that Clayster could even sub in against the Los Angeles Thieves? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Thank you also to PrizePicks for supporting today's coverage of what is going to be an incredible final day. If you guys want to get involved and haven't already in a fantastic daily fantasy product, this is exactly where you want to go. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to go for today in terms of over and unders. CleanX versus Optic is rather an interesting one because I feel like they've surely got to play, well, Bakaj is probably going to be in this series, and for some reason Bakaj always seems to be game one in these type of series, so not really sure. Maybe I'll take CleanX over. I feel like he might have a big one today. The coolest thing about this is not just can I pick the players, but also I can, well, associate it with other esports and sports as well. The Formula 1 is on today, the Austrian Grand Prix. Not too many drivers I can pick, but I can pair this up with, is Lando going to get points today? That McLaren's not been looking great. He's DNF'd on the 11th race of the year, the last 3 seasons in a row, and this is the 11th race. I'm going to take Lando under, and I would be able to place his entry if I was from the US and Canada. So get involved, use the link in the description box below, and PrizePicks will match any deposit you make up to $100. Let's crack straight on with things. Honestly, this series, first of all, last night was absurd. FaZe versus the Seattle Surge. Cellium was on complete demon mode. The thing is with this FaZe team, I've said it before, and I'll certainly say it again. When Cellium doesn't perform, they do look a bit suspect, but lately Simp has also turned up to godlike levels, but both Arcitys and aBeZy haven't had great series. But like Cellium lately is just winning maps like this on his own, to be honest. Look at this, 1 versus 4, gets the first kill, and that wasn't only like his only highlight of the game. The very next round, he gets 1 kill, and then Ninja defuses against Simp. Like, this is just a bullet play from Cellium. Works out in his favour. But yeah, the 1v4, there was some mistakes from Seattle. FaZe at this point already at 1-0 in the series, and yeah, Cellium just decided to take over the search and destroy. Pretty sure he went 33 and 20 in the hardpoint, took over the search and went 10 and 2. Like, yeah, everything was falling this guy's way. And honestly, like, Seattle were making some pretty ridiculous plays, in my opinion. Like, Cellium in this 1 versus 3, 25 seconds to defend. The Seattle guys really need to group up as much as they possibly can here, but letting Pred get picked off the bomb and Cellium escaping from a pretty, obvious angle where Cellium might have been playing from, definitely a mistake here. And at this point, Cellium knew he'd won the round because Mac was weak. Mac had to play a spot just like that. And, if accuracy gets off the bomb, maybe he can get the kill and get back on the defuse in time, but really difficult situation there. Definitely should not have let Cellium have that one. And then it goes to a control where Seattle got up 2-0 on this Berlin control, and I kind of felt like FaZe might have something in them here, but honestly, the plays that are being made from Simp especially to keep them alive, like, yeah, this play was ridiculous. It was a 2 versus 5. Simp needed to defend to try and hold this one down, gets 2 kills, spins on accuracy behind, and then gets the final kill as well on Pred. Simp picks up all 4 in the kill feeds to, well, hold this game safe. I mean, wow, the time was actually kind of crazy when Pred decided to go back to the door there. But Simp, who at that point was 14 and 24, gets 4 kills. The next round was a rather similar story, actually, where somehow FaZe break in and get all the kills to kind of capture this point at the end of it. Tied up 2-2. And then they have offense yet again on the final round. Look at this play that aBeZy makes it a 3 versus 4 again in Seattle's favor. aBeZy gets 1 kill, gets the second kill onto Sib, and that's going to be job done right into the point they go. Accuracy gets 1, gets traded out. Eventually he goes down, and honestly, like, just incredible the fact that FaZe won this in the way they did. They kind of seemed back, but man, Seattle, they threw away many of these situations they're not going to be happy about. That does not set them up well at all going into the major. They're going to be starting in the losers brackets, and this is really a very familiar scoreline here from the Seattle guys when Pred is marginally positive, the rest of the team not generally having the greatest time. And that's the thing, right? Seattle win a major, and well, this apparently is what happens when every team wins a major this season. It ends up looking like this. There's no dog in it, right? We see Optic, we see the same thing with the Los Angeles Guerrillas, of course, on major 2, Seattle Surge major 3. I mean, look at this, right? There's a very plausible possibility that at the end of the day, all 3 major winners so far this year going into major 4 will be starting in the losers bracket, which is honestly ridiculous, but it's something which is certainly possible. Look, it's Vanguard at the end of the day. I thought Seattle would kind of regress a little bit to where they're expected to be after their victory. I didn't think they would look this bad by any means, though. They're the only team, apart from Paris Legion, guaranteed going into today to be starting in the losers bracket at the major. And look how this has worked out. London subliners both 4-0. Boston, Florida, and Minnesota all confirmed in the winner side. And knowing how stacked it's going to be down there in losers, right? We talked about Toronto Ultra, the fact that they don't have that many CDL points. Los Angeles Thieves in a similar boat as well. If those teams were to start in losers, and Thieves have a good map record, so it's probably not going to happen to them, but if those teams were to start in losers, and they'll play a team, and if they win that one, they'll play like Seattle straight away, or they could play like who knows who's going to drop down from winners, right? It could be absolutely crazy, but there's a very realistic possibility that some of these teams that are going to start in losers that need the points for the World Championships might have an incredibly hard time doing exactly that. So we'll see the kind of standing standings in more detail here in a second. Wanted to mention real quick, actually, of course, the Boston event that is going on. Doug says, proud player at the Boston Breach. He's looking good. The sleeveless jersey, of course, from Doug is out in full force. And these are the final 4 remaining teams going into the Championship Sunday of the Challenger Boston Open. So Scrappy, Hixie, Vickle, and now Assaulted it is, the Toronto Academy North America. They're in the grand finals. It's the Toronto Academy from Europe that are in the losers finals guaranteed. And then Doug's team will play Pentagram's team to try and get through to the losers finals as well, to have a chance to actually get all the way to the grand finals. So fair play, Doug's team made a monstrous run yesterday, taking down Clayster at their final hurdle. And then even Clay mentioned 50 ping on LAN, which I thought was rather interesting. I believe this wasn't in Doug's series, actually. This was kind of before the series. But yeah, for some reason, Clay reckons that that's the thing. The LAN in this game isn't really LAN. Like, they connect to some sort of server, which means that even though you're playing on LAN, you're still playing on some sort of online server. So the ping, it should be the same between the teams, but isn't exactly 0 or like 5 or whatever LAN generally seems to be. And Clay's maybe feeling like the other team had less ping than needed. I don't really understand. If it's LAN, it should be 0 ping, but apparently that's not the case anymore. Even Doug's kind of trying to call him out for this one in the replies here. And Scrappy says, I want to see you tomorrow in the grand finals. And Doug says, bet. So we'll see if he can pull it off. That'd be a phenomenal storyline if Doug can somehow win his home event for the Boston team, the Boston Academy. But like, Scrappy and the guys look way too strong. But look, if Doug can even make it top 3 or better, that's a phenomenal performance from him and the team. Now, speaking of Clayster, right, SlasheR comes out with this. They must have had you on the good old online CDL server, saying that the online CDL servers that we play on are not good at all. And certainly there was some further follow-up to this as well. But wanted to mention this because HyDra tests positive yesterday. And as he says, first time testing positive. Hopefully it'll get better for my match tomorrow against Los Angeles Thieves. But that's a bit of a concern for them, right? Yes, of course, it's played online, but it's not exactly the best starting point for New York coming into this absolutely massive match for them, because the other teams around them have pulled away. New York really do need to win this one if they want to get an additional 10 points on the board, keep at least within touching distance of Minnesota, Florida, at which point they only need to outplace those teams by, still a fair bit, but they'll need to outplace them and get, top 3 or better New York at this tournament, or just win the entire thing. But this series tonight is still critical for them if they want to actually have a decent chance of making it to the World Championship. And as Clayster says in the replies, is it my time at Feel Better, bro? So that's the thing, really. Like, Clayster did tweet out that they're effectively telling him to come along to the New York Major just in case he has to sub in as an emergency substitute. But of course, he is out of the Boston event right now. If it was possible that HyDra feels like so bad today, hopefully he doesn't, of course, and it could be there because very critical player for the team. But let's say HyDra does feel really under the weather and he just doesn't feel like he can play at all, then Clayster being out of the Boston event could, set up a station somewhere and play the CDL match with New York remotely from that facility. That's a possibility. Like, I don't imagine it's going to happen, and I'm sure the team wants to absolutely 100% make sure that HyDra's playing it regardless of how unwell he feels, rather than bring Clayster back. But it's something which at least could be possible depending on the situation, either here or at the Major. But look, if that's the case of the Major, chalk off their hopes, I'm sure, of getting to the World Championship. Now, this was the other thing that SlasheR was talking about last night, right? The fact that some of these teams, like as Attach says, Vanguard is crazy. Every team is trash and godlike at the same time. I don't know if this makes sense, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So quite the statement really from Attach, who usually kind of goes away from making comments like this. But I think honestly, based on results, it's not exactly out of the question what he's saying here, right? And this is the thing that a lot of people are frustrated about, is the amount of online games. As SlasheR says now, the top 3 teams from the last Major and now combined at 4 and 8 in matches. So we looked earlier at the fact that the Major 3 winners, or the 3 major winners, all have a decent chance to start in losers after the games today. But also the top 3 teams from last Major, you're thinking, of course, FaZe came second in the grand finals, Seattle Surge and Toronto Ultra, they're all having, apart from FaZe, but still even FaZe were 3 and 2, a relatively tough time. Like, I mean, it's kind of incredible to think about, as he says, all in danger of starting at losers brackets from online play. And obviously SlasheR's never been a fan of online play, but I thought it was rather interesting what he goes on to say and says, okay, this game is definitely not good, but online would have been BS in any game. We would not have won back-to-back in Black Ops 4, the 100 Thieves team, the one London and then Anaheim about 2 weeks or so apart. No chance about it if it had been online. And this was, I think, kind of the key complaint here from SlasheR, and also Temp as well, that was mind-blown about it in the replies, that online actually matters more than LAN this year, which is actually a very interesting way to look at it, right? Because if you win the Major, you get 65 points, but if you win all of your online qualification matches, you get 50 points, right? 10 points per online match is actually very impressive, because, like, let's say you go to a Major and get top 8, you only get, 10 points for that. If you get top 6, you get 20 points for that. Like, I mean, a top 6 placing in a Major is pretty decent. You might have to win a good couple of matches to get to that point, but still you only get 20 points, whereas all these online games are worth, worth 50 for winning all of them, right? You could very well argue that online or the LAN events, you could just straight up double the amount of points required or amount of points gains. Like, or let's say, for example, winning the event gives you 100 points, like coming second gives you 80 or something, right? Like, you could probably skew the system a little bit more in favor of LAN performances to actually marginally make it so that these online games are marginally less important, because that's the thing that SlasheR is frustrated about, is that they won an event this year. And I mean, look, just because you won an event doesn't necessarily mean you should go to champs, but I feel like if you win one, like, you should have enough points to where it should be relatively safe, and that's effectively what happened with Los Angeles Guerrillas, but every team around them has improved, to which point that SlasheR feels it's a rather likely possibility right now that they won't go to champs, based largely on their performances online, which of course he doesn't reckon particularly comparable with what the team is capable of achieving on LAN, but even then has achieved once, and apart from that, not really done anything particularly special, right? So yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts on that one, whether there are some tweaks to be made there going forwards, or whether we just bin off online entirely, which is what I would like to see personally, if it can be done in a good format. But yeah, a few things to mention here as we kind of talk about today's games. Firstly, this is kind of incredible. Honestly, at the start of the year, we said, okay, as the season progresses, teams should get better at figuring out how to play offenses on Gavutu controls. Turns out it's the other way around, whereas now in stage 4, only about 10% of offenses are won. This map is so bad, I don't even watch half the time. I just wait for round 5. Don't know if you guys are the same. But New York played today, Optic played today, 2 massive games. I also saw this yesterday, which I thought was kind of incredible, that after the ridiculous announcement that Valorant, the Sentinels Valorant team announced Shroud to be joining their roster, the Dashi, after playing scrims or whatever, hopped onto Valorant and actually took them down in like a ranked game right here, which I thought was kind of incredible. Even like top fragged the lobby. Yes, Chamber's a bit overpowered, but still, Dashi's just doing it all in every single game mode. But they, of course, have a massive game coming up for them today. These are the standings as they currently sit. These are going to change, of course, by the end of the day, and New York is certainly going to be hoping they can put themselves right, because if Los Angeles Thieves win, that's massive for them. But if they lose and Subliners win, then wow, it seriously is all to play for. These are the 3 games then. Ravens, Guerrillas. Ravens right now certainly a better team than Guerrillas, but LAG like surely have to win this series, right? They're sitting now at 1-3-5. They're in 10th place. Like if they lose to London and go to the major starting in losers, they're probably not going to make the World Championship. So this is absolutely massive for Guerrillas. I still think Ravens win this one though, 3-1. They're just too strong at the moment if they play to the level they are capable of and take this series 100%. Then Optic Ultra, man. This is the series, like honestly, both of the last 2 series are like incredibly difficult to call. I think I might honestly take Ultra game 5. I'm not really sure about it. I think that Optic have a great chance. Toronto's Harpoon has not looked great at all, but I've just not been convinced by Optic lately. Yes, they've taken another week, so they should have had another week to improve, but I feel like Optic versus Ultra just historically loves to somehow go to a game 5, and in a game 5, I feel like I should favour Ultra, but then again, they've actually lost a lot of game 5 heartbreakers, and they lost one to Boston yesterday, so I'm not necessarily sure that my kind of Cold War thinking carries over to this game, but I think it's going to be a close series regardless. Massive, of course, for both teams. The winner of this probably gets to winners brackets. The loser definitely is in losers brackets. And then Thieves versus New York to finish out the day. Another cracking series. Like, I think New York right now are playing the better Call of Duty, but I can definitely see a world in which this goes game 5. And I'm not really sure yet what New York's kind of clutch factor is in Search and Destroy, but I feel like, New York 3-1, 3-2 is probably the safe bet here. And they know it's all to play for, as it was for Thieves yesterday against Florida, and they lost that series. So I'm going to take New York to win this one and keep the dream alive. But very much tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks to Prize Picks, and I'll see you next time.